the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? We're an equal branch of government. And you start off with a blather? And yet, look at the empty seats here. Where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so eminent, why isn't he here explaining it?
See, here's the thing about Trump's war on federal workers that none of these dumbass MAGA lackeys have considered. One, Trump's presidential power is limited by the Constitution. And two, well, that's a big one. These cuts will have an unexpected result for Trump's base of Americans who only watch Fox News. First, though, in the news today, federal judges are sticking it to tiny fingers like the Dotardian pinata that he is. These cuts, led by this spectrum-y cockwaffle, have no basis in law, much less the legality of having this illegal billionaire immigrant in charge. Elon, who is challenging NBA players with his collection of baby mamas, seems to, at least for now, ready to tear apart the very country from which he is pilfering federal billions from. And the fusterclub called America that we used to honor and revere, well, it's hanging in the balance.
The union you represent was part of this legal effort to get these probationary workers reinstated. I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand. They think if you're probationary, you were just hired. It's not necessarily true. It might be that you were just put in a new job, but you came from that same agency or came from a different agency. In any case, what is your reaction to today's ruling? And do you think the Trump administration is going to abide by it, or are they going to appeal?
Well, I would say, first of all, today is a good day. It's a good day for justice. Now, I think that the Trump administration should abide by the judge's ruling because, no one is above the law, even the president of the United States. So I expect that this administration will abide by the judge's ruling. But it's such a good day today for all of America.
Okay, that is good news, I guess, that many of these judges are Republicans and some were appointed by Trump. And unlike the cowards in the Republican Party, judges are showing they have some spine.
I think he's a kook. I think he's uninformed.
Here's why I'm with Trump.
Well, don't you love me?
Okay, now there's been talk from the far left that what if Trump decides to ignore a judge's order? And Trump has floated the idea that he will ignore these orders.
I mean, we are on the edge of a dark precipice where the rule of law doesn't exist, at least at the federal level. And that, I don't think people fully understand that yet.
That's conservative lawyer George Conway laying out a scenario that would have seemed far-fetched until recently. But it's taking on fresh significance given this judge's determination that the administration already is defying his orders and is accused in a second case involving suspended U.S. aid workers of also defying a court order. In this case, though, Rhode Island Chief Federal Judge John McConnell Jr. has already made his determination and issued a warning in the form of a citation at the very top of today's ruling. It reads, quote, "Persons who make private determinations of the law and refuse to obey an order generally risk criminal contempt, even if the order is ultimately ruled incorrect." He does not, however, say what will happen if the defendant on the president's order simply says, "No, make me."
Now, in the not-too-distant past, Republicans had spines. They cared about the U.S. and decided we would not stand for the Soviet Union's fascist sweep west. Today, Republicans support Putin while he murders hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children in Ukraine and mocks their efforts to defend themselves.
Why do I care? Why do I care what's going on in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? And I'm serious. Why do I care? And why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am?
In 1974, when Nixon hinted at defying a judge's order, Republicans like Barry Goldwater and others went to the White House and said, "Hey, you're done." Today, these same Republicans have their heads so far up Trump's orifice, they can kiss Sean Hannity on the lips. Here's Propaganda Barbie, whose constitutional acumen floats right around the same address as Kid Rock. She believes that Trump has superpowers that make him untouchable.
Judge has ruled that tens of thousands of fired federal workers must be reinstated immediately. Okay, Karen, how are you going to fight that?
Well, let's talk about the absurdity of this, Stu. You have a single lower district court judge who ruled that all of these individuals need to be rehired, just usurping the executive authority of President Trump to fire federal workers. This cannot be allowed to happen. This ruling was unconstitutional. The White House and the Trump administration are prepared to fight back.
Now, the question is, and it is concerning, What happens if Trump decides to ignore all the rulings from every court, even the Supreme Court? What's next? Well, we already know this from a couple years ago.
And then on Saturday, seemingly out of nowhere, called for the suspension of the Constitution.
We laughed then, but not today. Today, Trump is actively trying to circumvent the law. You know, like the guy with the funny mustache did. I can't use his name because apparently YouTube's algorithms are smart enough to detect when I say but can't analyze Trump's actions mirroring the guy with the mustache. Today, Trump wants not to run a third time, but to eliminate the elections altogether.
We're going to do this, and this, and this, and this.
Rejected.
Can't do that. Can't do that. I guess you could do that. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. We should impeach the judge who's temporarily blocked my Doge workers from accessing sensitive data. If you want to object to a legal ruling, you should appeal. Who said that? It's me, the Constitution. What's the Constitution? So in our government, there's something called balance of power. Yes, but how do we get around that?
Trump really believes he can do this.
I want to be a dictator.
And why does he believe that? Because the Republican Party is without a doubt the weakest, most pathetic collection of cuckold, ballless sycophants since the guy with the funny mustache. So what's the solution? Well, that's part two. Trump's cuts have not only been challenged by judges, but the same cuts are eliminating jobs and services that are unduly affecting MAGA. And they aren't happy. Not even pouty Winklecock here.
Yeah, I just saw some news that Trump took some grants away from Johns Hopkins, where my sister works, and now my mom's upset. She's texting me. It's going to be a whole family thing. So we'll have to deal with that over the weekend.
And then there's this Republican from Arizona.
If I watch one more idiot on cable television saying, all we have to do is this, look how wonderful that is. That's not the math. There's 40,000 federal employees which have said they'll take a retirement package. 40,000 federal employees leaving is a single day of borrowing. For an entire year, all those folks leaving, single day of borrowing.
Well, you get the point. And Americans, especially MAGA Americans, are feeling the brunt. And they're letting Republicans hear about it.
Be represented by you if you don't have a voice in Congress.
I'm a registered Republican voter and retired active Army officer. How can you tell me that Doge, with some college whiz kids from a computer terminal in Washington, D.C., without even getting out into the field, after about a week or maybe two, has determined that it's okay to cut veterans' benefits?
When are you going to wrest control as the Congress back from the executive and stop hurting your constituents?
Are you willing to use your subpoena power to say, Musk, come in here, stand in front of Congress and answer some hard questions?
When will you stand up to them and say that is enough?
And there are millions of Americans who are related to undocumented citizens and those born in the U.S. that Trump threatens to deport. And they're not criminals any more than the legions of Europeans who spread across this country over the last 300 years. And these cuts are affecting MAGA workers and their families directly. Apparently, Republicans fail to notice that about 40% of federal workers are Republican, and they're getting fired. What Trump is attempting to do, however, has nothing to do with our country. He is systematically following the Project 2025 playbook and trying to dismantle our democracy, which is bad for everyone. It's bad for NATO, it's bad for MAGA, it's bad for our trading partners, for nations struggling against dictators. In fact, I can only think of one country that will benefit from what Trump is doing.
Russia, if you're listening.
Goddamn right.
Bloated and fat and disgusting.
I like that.
Crazy.
Disgusting.
Go f*** yourself.
Oh, I like that.
You're a nasty person.
I'm as mad as hell.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.